Dive into the heartwarming tale of Flavors of Chicago, where Lee, a single mom with a fiery Mexican heritage, runs a taco truck that's more than just foodites, a legacy of love. When she shares a meal with a lost elder at a bustling festival, she has no idea he's Henry, the grandfather of Justin, a charming CEO, hiding his true identity. Sparks fly, secrets unravel, and a bracelet from a fateful night 7 years ago reveals a shocking truth. Lee's daughter, Ellie, might just tie them together forever. Will Lee's tacos conquer the corporate world and Vanessa's schemes? Or will betrayal steal her dreams? Watch this emotional roller coaster of family, food, and second chances set against Chicago's vibrant streets.
The summer sun beat down on Chicago's Millennium Park, where the air buzzed with the vibrant energy of the city's annual food festival. Colorful tents lined the green expanse, their banners fluttering in the warm breeze, each one showcasing a slice of Chicago's culinary soul. The scent of sizzling meats, fresh herbs, and tangy sauces mingled with the laughter of families and the hum of live music from a nearby stage. At the heart of it all, Lee Carter's food truck, painted in bold reds and greens inspired by her Mexican heritage, stood out like a beacon. The sign above read Tacos de la Familia, a nod to her parents who had crossed the border from Mexico while her mother was pregnant with her, bringing their recipes and dreams to the United States. Lee, now 30, with dark hair tied back in, a practical bun and eyes that sparkled with determination, moved swiftly behind the counter, her hands a blur as she assembled tacos with precision. 2 al pastor, 1 carne asada, extra cilantro. Lee called out, her voice cutting through the chatter of the crowd. A line of customers snaked around her truck, drawn by the aroma of slow-roasted pork and freshly made tortillas. Her 6-year-old daughter, Ellie Carter, sat on a stool nearby, her small hands clutching a coloring book, her brown curls bouncing as she hummed a tune. Lee glanced at her, a smile softening her face. "Ellie, you okay over there?" "Mia?" "Yup, Mama." Ellie chirped, holding up a crayon, drawing of a taco with a smiling face. "This one's for you." "It's a happy taco." Lee laughed, her heart swelling. "That's the best taco I've ever seen. Keep it safe for me, okay?" She turned back to the grill, flipping a batch of carne asada, the sizzle a comforting rhythm. Her food truck was more than a business. It was a legacy, a way to honor her parents' journey and share their culture with Chicago. But the long hours and tight finances weighed on her, especially with the dream of opening a proper restaurant lingering in her mind as the afternoon crowd thickened. Lee noticed an elderly man standing alone near the edge of her truck's awning. His silver hair was disheveled, his tweed jacket mismatched with worn sneakers, and his eyes darted around with a mix of confusion and curiosity. He clutched a crumpled napkin, muttering to himself, his voice lost in the festival's din. Lee's instincts kicked in. She'd seen that look before, in her grandfather back in Jalisco, when his memory started to fade. "Hey, sir, you all right?" Lee called, wiping her hands on her apron and stepping out from behind the counter. The man turned, his face etched with lines that told stories of a long life. "You look like you could use something to eat." The man blinked, as if trying to place her. I don't know. I was looking for someone. My wife, maybe?" She made the best tamales. His voice trembled, and Lee's heart tugged. He reminded her of her own family, of stories her mother told about crossing the border with nothing but hope. "Tell you what," Lee said gently, guiding him to a folding chair by the truck. "How about I fix you a plate? On the house." My mom's tamales were legendary too. She flashed a warm smile, hoping to ease his confusion. "What's your name?" "Henry," he said after a pause, his eyes clearing for a moment. "Henry Hayes. I used to cook, long time ago." "Big kitchen, lots of people." Lee nodded, sensing there was more to his story. "Well, Henry, you're in luck. I've got some tamales that might remind you of home." She prepared a plate with 2 tamales, a side of salsa verde, and a cup of horchata, setting it in front of him. "Eat up and let me know if you need anything else." Henry's hand shook as he took a bite, his face lighting up. This is like hers, my Clara. She'd love this." He ate slowly, savoring each bite, and Lee watched him, a mix of pride and concern swirling in her chest. She glanced at Ellie, who was now drawing a picture of the old man, her tongue poking out in concentration dot as the festival wound down. Lee kept an eye on Henry, who lingered by the truck, his gaze distant. She was about to call a festival volunteer to help him when a tall man in a simple navy polo and jeans approached, his dark hair slightly tousled and his green eyes scanning the crowd with urgency. Justin Hayes, though Lee didn't know his name, yet spotted his grandfather and hurried over, relief washing over his face. "Grandpa Henry," Justin exclaimed, kneeling beside the chair. "I've been looking everywhere for you. You can't just wander off like that." Henry looked up, a spark of recognition in his eyes. "Justin, this girl, she gave me tamales. Like Clara's, you gotta find her, son. She's special." Justin glanced at Lee, who was cleaning the grill, her apron stained with salsa and her face flushed from the heat. He stood, brushing off his jeans, and approached her. "Hey, thanks for looking out for him. I'm Justin. He's my grandfather, Henry Hayes. He's got dementia, and sometimes he slips away." Lee wiped her hands and smiled, though her guard was up. "No problem. I'm Lee. He seemed hungry, and I couldn't let him go without a meal. He mentioned his wife, Clara." Justin's expression softened. "Yeah, she was a chef like him. Founded Hayes Foods years ago." "Your tamales must have hit a memory for him?" "That's rare these days." He hesitated, then added, "Can I pay you for the food?" Lee waved him off. "It's on the house. Just make sure he gets home safe, okay?" She turned back to the truck, but Justin lingered, watching her with a mix of gratitude and curiosity. "Justin," Henry called, his voice stronger now. "You find this girl again. Promise me. She's got Clara's heart." He tapped his chest, his eyes locking onto his grandson's. Justin nodded, a promise forming in his mind. "I will, Grandpa. I'll find her." He looked at Lee, who was packing up her truck, unaware of the impact she just made. Ellie ran over, holding out her drawing of Henry, a colorful sketch of an old man with a tamale in hand. "For you, mister?" Ellie said, thrusting the paper at Henry. "So you don't forget Mama's tacos." Henry chuckled, taking the drawing with care. "Thank you, little one. What's your name?" "Ellie," she said proudly, then ran back to Lee, who scooped her up, laughing. Justin watched the scene, something stirring in his chest, a memory of a night 7 years ago at the Taste of Chicago. A fleeting connection with a woman whose face he couldn't quite place dot as Lee drove her food truck back to her small apartment. In Pilsen, the vibrant murals of the neighborhood reflecting her heritage, she thought about the old man and his grandson. Life was tough. Her savings were tied up in a dream restaurant, and her relationship with Derek Walsh, her business partner and boyfriend, was strained. But moments like today, helping someone like Henry, made it worth it. Meanwhile, Justin helped Henry into his car, the old man still clutching Ellie's drawing. "She's the one, Justin," Henry said, his voice firm despite his confusion. "Like Clara. Don't let her slip away." "I won't," Justin promised, his mind racing. He didn't know how, but he'd find Lee again. Her food truck, her kindness, her daughter's smile, they were already etched into his memory. A puzzled piece from a past he couldn't fully grasp. Back at her apartment, Lee tucked Ellie into bed, the girl clutching a stuffed cactus toy. "Mama." "That old man was nice," Ellie murmured, her eyes heavy. "Like abuelo." "Yeah, Mia," Lee said, kissing her forehead. "He was special." She didn't know it yet, but that chance encounter would change everything, pulling her into a world of secrets, love, and second chances. The late summer evening in a Chicago suburb was alive with the hum of community life. Rows of brick bungalows lined the street, their front yards bursting with marigolds, and kids' bikes left haphazardly on the grass. The air carried the smoky aroma of barbecue ribs and the sweet tang of lemonade, mingling with the laughter of neighbors gathered for a block party. Strings of fairy lights crisscrossed above, casting a warm glow over folding tables laden with potato salad, cornbread, and Lee Carter's famous tacos, their vibrant fillings spilling from homemade tortillas. Lee, her dark hair swept into a loose ponytail, moved through the crowd with a tray of her signature carne asada tacos, her smile bright but tinged with exhaustion. Her food truck, Tacos de la Familia, was parked nearby, its red and green paint, reflecting her Mexican heritage, a legacy from her parents who had crossed the border while her mother was pregnant with her. Ellie Carter, a 6-year-old daughter, darted between tables, her brown curls bouncing as she handed out napkins decorated with her crayon drawings of tacos. "Mama, I gave Mrs. Lopez an extra spicy one," Ellie called, her voice bubbling with pride. "Good job, Micha," Lee replied, ruffling Ellie's hair. "But don't give Mr. Rodriguez the spicy salsa again. He'll be fanning his mouth all night." She chuckled, but her eyes flickered with worry. The $1.5 million relocation compensation for their old apartment in Pilsen was finally in her bank account, a lifeline to turn her food truck into a real restaurant. She'd been planning it with Derek Walsh, her boyfriend and business partner, for years. But lately, Derek had been distant, spending late nights networking and dodging her questions about their shared savings dot as the sun dipped below the horizon. Painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Derek Walsh appeared at the edge of the party, his tailored blazer out of place among the casual jeans and t-shirts. Beside him stood Vanessa Reed, her blonde hair sleek and her designer dress screaming money. Lee's stomach tightened. She'd met Vanessa once at a business mixer Derek insisted on attending, and the woman's cold smile had left her uneasy. "Lee, there you are," Derek called, his voice overly cheerful as he waved her over. The crowd parted, neighbors turning to watch, their chatter softening. Lee set down her tray and approached, wiping her hands on her apron, her heart thudding. "Derek, what's going on?" Lee asked, her voice low. "You said you'd be here an hour ago to help set up." Derek flashed a grin, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Big news, babe. Everyone, listen up." He raised a plastic cup of lemonade, drawing the crowd's attention. "I want to share something special tonight. This house," he gestured to the charming 2-story bungalow behind him, its porch adorned with potted plants, "is officially ours. And I couldn't have done it without my fiancée, Vanessa Reed." The crowd gasped, then clapped, but Lee froze, her breath catching. "Fiancée?" Her eyes darted to Vanessa, who smirked, looping her arm through Derek's. The house wrapped in string lights for the party was the one Lee had poured her savings into, the one she dreamed would be their family's home. "Derek, what are you talking about?" Lee's voice cracked, her hands trembling. "That's my money. We bought that house together." Derek's smile faltered, but he pressed on, his tone patronizing. "Lee, let's not make a scene. The title's in my name, legal, and done. Vanessa's family helped seal the deal. You've got your food truck, right? You'll be fine." The neighbors' murmurs grew louder, their eyes darting between Lee and Derek. Ellie, sensing the tension, ran to her mother's side, clutching her leg. "Mama, why is he saying that?" Ellie whispered, her wide eyes searching Lee's face. Lee knelt, forcing a smile for her daughter. "It's okay, Mia, stay with Mrs. Lopez for a minute." She handed Ellie off to a neighbor, then stood, her voice steadying despite the fire in her chest. "Derek Walsh, you used my relocation money, my $1.5 million. You can't just take it and parade her around like I'm nothing." Vanessa stepped forward, her heels clicking on the pavement. "Oh, Lee, don't be dramatic. Derek's moving up in the world. You're a food truck girl, stick to what you know." Her words dripped with condescension, and the crowd's whispers turned to shocked murmurs. Before Lee could respond, a familiar voice cut through the tension. "Hey, that's enough." Sarah Thompson, Lee's childhood friend, pushed through the crowd, her curly hair bouncing and her barista apron still tied from her shift at a nearby cafe. Sarah, who now worked in the marketing department at Hayes Foods, had known Lee since their days in Pilsen, sharing tamales and dreams. "Lee put everything into that house, Derek. You can't just steal it and act like she's the problem." Derek scoffed, his arm around Vanessa. "Sarah, stay out of this." Lee, you're making a fool of yourself. Take your kid and go. Lee's fists clenched, her nails digging into her palms. You think you can erase me? I built this dream for Ellie, for us. You're not taking it. Her voice shook, but she stood tall, the fire of her Mexican heritage burning in her eyes. The same resilience her parents had shown crossing the border. Vanessa laughed, a sharp, cutting sound. Face it, Lee. You're out of your league. Derek's with me now, and this house is ours. Move on. The crowd's murmurs grew into a low rumble, some neighbors shaking their heads, others whispering support for Lee. Mrs. Lopez, holding Ellie's hand, called out, Lee, you don't deserve this. We've got your back. But the humiliation stung, a public wound that cut deeper than Lee could bear as Lee struggled to find words. A figure emerged from the shadows of the street, his navy polo and jeans blending into the night. Justin Hayes, though Lee didn't know his full identity, had been driving by, checking on his grandfather's old neighborhood when he spotted the crowd. He'd been thinking about Lee since the festival, her kindness to Henry lingering in his mind. Now, seeing her cornered, he stepped forward. Everything okay here? Justin's voice was calm but firm, his green eyes locking onto Derek. Sounds like there's a misunderstanding about whose money paid for that house. Derek bristled, sizing Justin up. Who are you? This is private. Justin ignored him. Turning to Lee, you all right? I couldn't help overhearing. If this guy is taking what's yours, that's not right. Lee blinked, recognizing him from the festival. Justin, what are you doing here? Her voice wavered, torn between gratitude and embarrassment. Checking on the neighborhood, Justin said, keeping his tone casual. But I don't like seeing someone get railroaded. You need help sorting this out? Sarah jumped in, her eyes flashing. She sure does. Derek's trying to steal her life savings in this house. Lee deserves better. Derek laughed, but it was nervous now. This is none of your business. Man, back off. Justin crossed his arms, unfazed. I'm making it my business? Lee, you got any proof of that money? Bank records, anything? Lee nodded, her resolve hardening. I've got everything transfers, receipts. It's all in my name. She looked at Ellie, who was watching wide-eyed, and felt a surge of determination. I'm not letting this. Go, Derek. Vanessa tugged Derek's arm. Let's go inside, babe. She's not worth it. But the crowd's mood had shifted, neighbors murmuring support for Lee, their voices a chorus of indignation. As Derek and Vanessa retreated into the house, Lee turned to Justin, her voice soft but firm. Thanks for stepping in. I don't know why you did, but it means a lot. Justin smiled, a hint of something deeper in his eyes. You helped my grandpa? I owe you one, and I don't like bullies. He glanced at Ellie, who was clinging to Lee's side. You've got a great kid there. Don't let anyone take that from you. Sarah put a hand on Lee's shoulder. Come on, let's get you and Ellie home. We'll figure this out tomorrow. You're not alone, okay? Lee nodded, her throat tight. Thanks, Sarah. She scooped Ellie up, the girl's small arms wrapping around her neck. As they walked to her truck, the fairy lights fading behind them, Lee felt the weight of betrayal, but also a flicker of hope. The suburbs' warmth, the neighbors' support, and Justin's unexpected kindness reminded her of her parents' resilience. She'd fight for her dream, for Ellie, no matter what Derek tried to take. Back at the house, Derek poured Vanessa a glass of wine, his jaw tight. She'd give up eventually. She's got nothing without me. Vanessa smirked, sipping her. Drink. Good. Keep her down, Derek. She's no match for us. But across town, in Lee's small Pilsen apartment, surrounded by murals of Mexican heroes and the scent of leftover salsa, she tucked Ellie into bed. Mama, are we gonna lose our house? Ellie asked, her voice small. No, Mira, Lee said. Kissing her forehead, we're gonna fight. And we're gonna win? As Ellie drifted off, Lee stared at the ceiling, her mind racing. She didn't know how, but she'd reclaim what was hers and maybe, just maybe, find allies in unexpected places. The morning sun filtered through the vibrant murals of Pilsen, Chicago's Mexican-American heart, casting colorful patterns across the cracked sidewalks. Lee's small apartment above a taqueria buzzed with the scent of fresh coffee and the faint spice of last night's salsa prep. Her kitchen counter was cluttered with recipe notebooks, their pages stained with chili oil and scribbled with her mother's handwritten notes for al pastor and mole. Lee, her dark hair pulled into a messy bun, stood at the stove, stirring a pot of pozole for Ellie's breakfast. The 6-year-old sat at a wobbly table, her crayons scattered as she drew a picture of their food truck. Tacos de la Familia, its red and green colors vivid in her childish strokes. The betrayal from Derek at the block party still stung, a raw wound that made Lee's hand shake as she chopped cilantro. Her $1.5 million relocation money, meant to build a restaurant, was gone, tied up in a house now claimed by Derek and Vanessa. "Mama, why's your face all frowny?" Ellie asked, tilting her head, her brown curls bouncing. "Is it 'cause I'm mean, Derek?" Lee forced a smile, setting a bowl of pozole in front of her daughter. "Just thinking, Mia. Eat your breakfast, okay? We've got a big day at the truck." She kissed Ellie's forehead, her heart heavy. The food truck was their lifeline, but without her savings, the dream of a restaurant felt like a fading mirage. She glanced at her phone, hoping for a message from her lawyer about the house. But the screen was blank. A knock at the door startled her. Lee wiped her hands on her apron and opened it to find Sarah Thompson, her childhood friend, standing there with a thermos of coffee and a determined grin. Sarah's curly hair was tucked under a baseball cap, her Hayes Foods polo slightly wrinkled from an early shift. "Morning, amiga," Sarah said, stepping inside. "Brought you some fuel. We need to talk strategy about Derek." Lee sighed, gesturing to the cluttered living room, where a sagging couch sat under a framed photo of her parents in Jalisco. "Sarah, I don't even know where to start. He's got my money, my house, everything I worked for." Sarah plopped onto the couch, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. "We'll get it back, Lee. I've got a friend in legal at Hayes Foods who can look at your bank records. Derek can't just steal your life." She handed Lee a mug, her eyes fierce. "You're tougher than this. Remember when we used to sneak tamales from your mom's kitchen and sell them at school? You've got that fire." Lee managed a weak laugh, sipping the coffee. "Yeah, and we got detention for it. I need to keep things stable for Ellie." She glanced at her daughter, who was humming as she colored, oblivious to the weight on her mother's shoulders. Before Sarah could respond, another knock echoed through the apartment. Lee frowned, setting down her mug. "Who's that now?" She opened the door to find Justin standing there, his navy polo swapped for a casual flannel shirt, his green eyes warm but hesitant. He held a small paper bag, the logo of a nearby bakery peeking out. "Hey, Lee," Justin said, his voice soft. "Hope I'm not intruding. I was in the neighborhood and, well, I wanted to check on COG1 on you after last night." Lee's eyebrows. "Shut up," her guard rising. "Justin, how'd you find me?" She stepped back, letting him in, though her instincts screamed caution. Rich guys like him because he had that polished air, even in flannel, usually meant trouble. "Your food truck's website has an address," Justin said with a sheepish grin, holding up the bag. "I brought donuts for Ellie. Figured she'd like them." Ellie perked up, running over. "Donuts, Mama. Can I have one?" Her eyes sparkled as she peeked into the bag. Lee softened, nodding. "One, Misha. Say thank you first." "Thank you, Mr. Justin." Ellie chirped, grabbing a sprinkled donut and scampering back to her table. Sarah leaned forward, smirking. "Smooth?" "Move, mystery man. So, what's your deal? Showing up at block parties and apartments now?" Justin chuckled, unfazed. "Just trying to help. Last night was rough, Lee. I couldn't stop thinking about it." He paused, his gaze settling on. My grandpa, Henry Hayes, hasn't stopped talking about your tamales. Says they're like his wife's. That's a big deal. He's a tough critic." Lee's lips twitched into a smile, despite herself. "Henry's sweet. I'm glad he liked them." She hesitated, then added, "But I don't need charity, Justin. I can handle this." "I know you can," Justin said, leaning against the counter. "But I've got a proposition." Hear me out? He pulled a business card from his pocket, sliding it across the counter. It read Hayes Foods Product Development. We're working on a new line of organic prepared foods. Your tacos could be a game changer. I'd like you to consult, maybe develop a recipe or two for us. Lee's eyes narrowed, her distrust of corporate types flaring. Why me? You don't even know if my food's any good. Oh, I know, Justin said, his grin widening. Henry wouldn't shut up about it. And I tried one of your all-pastor tacos at the festival. Trust me, you're the real deal. He leaned closer, his voice earnest. This isn't charity. It's business. You'd be paid, and it could help you get back on your feet. Sarah whistled, sipping her coffee. Sounds like a golden ticket. Lee, Hayes Foods is huge organic snacks, juices, the works. This could be your shot. Lee crossed her arms, her mind racing. The money could help fight Derek in court, but she'd been burned before. What's the catch? You want my recipes, then what? I'm out? Justin shook his head, his expression serious. No catch. You keep full creative control. We just produce and distribute. Your name, your brand, Tacos de la Familia on every package. What do you say? Lee glanced at Ellie, who was licking sprinkles off her fingers, giggling. A stable income could mean security for her daughter, a chance to rebuild. But her parents' stories of broken promises in a new country echoed in her mind. I'll think about it, she said finally. I need to see a contract first. Fair enough, Justin said, nodding. I'll have my team send one over. Can I ask you something, though? He hesitated, his eyes searching hers. You ever been to the Taste of Chicago, maybe 7 years ago? Lee frowned, caught off guard. Yeah, I've worked it every year. Why? Justin's gaze flickered, something unspoken passing through his eyes. Just a hunch. Your tacos remind me of something. Someone, he shook it off, smiling. Never. Mind, I'll get that contract to you. As Justin left, Sarah grabbed Lee's arm. Okay, who is that guy? He's way too nice to be just some food company rep. Lee shrugged, uneasy. I don't know, Sarah, but I'm not falling for charm again. Derek was charming too. She glanced at the business card, her fingers tracing the Hayes Foods logo. Something about Justin felt familiar, but she pushed the thought away, focusing on Ellie's laughter later that day. Lee took Ellie to visit Henry Hayes at his cozy Lincoln Park brownstone at Justin's suggestion. The house was filled with old cookbooks and faded photos of a smiling woman in a chef's hat, Clara, Henry's late wife. Henry, his silver hair neat today, sat at a kitchen table, his hands steady as he studied one of Ellie's drawings. Lee, Henry said, his voice warm but fragile. These tamales. They're like Clara's. She'd be proud. He patted her hand, his eyes misty. You're a fighter, like she was. Don't let that boy, Derek, break you. Lee swallowed hard, her resolve strengthening. I won't, Henry. I promise. She spent the afternoon with him, tweaking a salsa recipe under his guidance, his chef's wisdom cutting through his dementia like a beacon. As Ellie played nearby, Lee felt a spark of hope. Maybe Justin's offer wasn't too good to be true. The Chicago skyline gleamed under a crisp autumn morning, its glass towers reflecting the golden hues of Lake Michigan. Inside the sleek headquarters of Hayes Foods in the Loop, the air buzzed with the hum of ambition. The modern office, with its open-plan desks and walls lined with awards for organic snacks and juices, was a hive of activity. Lee navigated the polished marble floors, her sneakers squeaking slightly, a stark contrast to the clicking heels of her new colleagues. Her denim jacket, embroidered with a cactus from her Pilsen roots, felt out of place among the tailored blazers. But she carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone who'd earned her place. Her food truck, Tacos de la Familia, was still her heart. But Justin's offer to develop a line of Algo kits for Hayes Foods was a chance to secure a future for Ellie. She clutched a worn notebook filled with her mother's recipes, her fingers tracing the faded ink as she stepped into the product. Development wing Sarah greeted her at the glass-walled conference room. Her curly hair pulled back and her Haze Foods polo swapped for a smart blazer. "Lee, you ready for this?" Sarah asked, her voice low but excited. "Big gay. You're pitching your taco kits to the team." Lee nodded, her stomach churning. "Ready as I'll ever be. Just hope they don't expect me to talk corporate jargon." She adjusted her jacket, the weight of Derek's betrayal still heavy. The lawyer Sarah recommended was digging into her bank records, but for now, this job was her lifeline dot as they entered the room. Lee's eyes landed on Vanessa, who sat at the head of the table, her blonde hair sleek and her red dress screaming power. Vanessa's smile was sharp, like a knife hidden in velvet. "Well, look who's here," Vanessa said, her tone dripping with false warmth. "The food truck girl. Welcome to the big leagues, Lee." Lee forced a polite nod, her jaw tight. "Thanks, Vanessa. I'm here to work." She set her notebook on the table, ignoring the smirks from a few of Vanessa's allies in the room. Junior execs who seemed to hang on her every word. Sarah leaned in, whispering, "She's been gunning for promotion. Thinks your project's stealing her spotlight. Watch your back." Before Lee could respond, Justin walked in. His flannel traded for a crisp button-down, though his easy smile softened the corporate edge. He hadn't revealed he was the CEO, letting the team assume he was a project manager. "Morning, everyone," Justin said, taking a seat. "Lee's here to pitch her organic taco kits. Let's give her the floor." Lee stood, her heart pounding but her voice steady. "My family's been making tacos for generations back in Mexico and here in Chicago. These kits are pasta, carne asada, veggie options are built on authentic recipes, but with organic ingredients to fit Haze Foods' brand. Fresh, bold, real." She opened her notebook, passing around samples of her spice blends, the sense of cumin and ancho chili filling the room. A murmur of approval rippled through the team, but Vanessa leaned forward, her eyes glinting. "Cute story, Lee, but tacos, they're everywhere. Why should Haze Foods bet on a food truck nobody when we got proven products?" She gestured to a sleek packet of organic juice blends, her own project. Lee's cheeks burned, but she held her ground. "Because these aren't just tacos. They're a taste of home for millions Mexican-American families, Chicagoans, anyone who loves real food. My truck's got lines around the block for a reason. People crave authenticity," Sarah chimed. In her voice firm, she's right. "Market research shows a gap in organic prepared meals with cultural roots. Lee's kits could hit that sweet spot." Vanessa's smile didn't waver, but her eyes narrowed. "We'll see. I'd hate for Haze Foods to waste resources on a risky bet." She turned to Justin, her tone sugary. "What do you think, Justin?" "You're the one pushing this." Justin leaned back, his gaze flicking to Lee. "I think Lee's got something special. Let's give her a shot to prove it. 2 weeks to develop a prototype. Fair?" The team nodded and Lee exhaled, grateful but wary. As the meeting ended, Vanessa lingered, her heels clicking as she approached Lee. "Don't get too comfortable," Vanessa whispered, her voice low. "This company's mine. You're just a novelty." Lee met her gaze, unflinching. "I'm here to work, not play games. My food speaks for itself." She grabbed her notebook and left, Sarah at her side. Outside, in the bustling hallway, Sarah grabbed Lee's arm. "She's trouble, Lee. Vanessa's dad's got connections and she's used to getting her way." "But you've got this. Your tacos are fire." Lee managed to smile. "Thanks, Sarah. I don't know if I belong here. This place feels like a shark tank." "You belong anywhere you want to be," Sarah said, squeezing her hand. "Come. Let's get you set up in the test kitchen." The Haze Foods test kitchen was a chef's dream stainless steel counters, gleaming appliances and shelves stocked with organic spices. Lee felt a spark of excitement as she unpacked her ingredients, but the corporate sheen made her miss the gritty charm of her food truck. As she mixed a batch of all pastor marinade, Justin appeared, leaning against the doorframe, settling in. "Okay," he asked, his green eyes warm. "Heard you held your own in there." Lee shrugged, stirring the marinade. "Vanessa's not a fan. Guess I'm not what she expected." Justin chuckled. "She's used to running the show. But you've got something she doesn't. Heart. Henry keeps talking about you. Says you're like his Clara. Lee paused, her spatula still. Henry's sweet. He helped me tweak a salsa recipe yesterday. It's like, he's foggy sometimes, but when he talks about food, he's all there. Yeah, Justin said, his voice softening. Clara was. He's everything. Founded this company with him. Your food's bringing back, Lee. That's why I pushed for you. He hesitated, then added, Can I help? I'm no chef, but I can chop onions. Lee laughed, handing him a knife. All right, but no crying on my watch. They worked side by side, the rhythm of chopping and sizzling easing her nerves. Justin's presence was steady, grounding, but she couldn't shake the feeling he was hiding something. Later that week, Lee visited Henry at his Lincoln Park brownstone, Ellie in tow. The house smelled of old wood and fresh herbs, a testament to Henry's chef days. He sat at his kitchen table, flipping through a weathered cookbook, his eyes lighting up when he saw Lee. Lee, my girl, Henry said, patting the chair beside. Him, got a recipe for me today. Ellie giggled, climbing onto a stool. Mama's making spicy tacos, Grandpa Henry. You gotta try 'em? Lee smiled, setting a container of tacos on the table. These are for you, Henry. Al passed her, just like we talked about. She watched him take a bite, his face softening with memory. Clara would have loved you, Henry said, his voice thick. You cook with love, like she did. Don't let those suits scare you off, hear me? Lee nodded, her throat tight. I won't, Henry. I'm doing this for Ellie, for my family. She glanced at Ellie, who was drawing a picture of Henry with a taco, and felt a surge of determination dot back at Hayes Foods. Vanessa's sabotage began to show. Lee found her spice blends mislabeled, her prototype samples misplaced. Whispers followed her in the hallways, rumors that her recipes were too niche for the market. Sarah caught wind of it, pulling Lee aside in the break room. Vanessa's playing dirty, Sarah said, her voice low. I overheard her talking to her team, saying your project's a flop waiting to happen. We need to watch her. Lee clenched her fists, her resolve hardening. Let her try. I'm not here to lose. But as she returned to the test kitchen, she felt the weight of Vanessa's influence, a storm brewing in the corporate waters she was only beginning to navigate. The Chicago autumn painted the city in shades of amber and crimson, with leaves crunching underfoot along the bustling streets of the Loop. Inside the Hayes Foods headquarters, the air was crisp with the hum of fluorescent lights and the faint scent of roasted coffee from the break room. Lee moved through the product development wing, her denim jacket swapped for a Hayes Foods apron. Her hands dusted with chili powder as she tested a new batch of organic taco seasoning. The test kitchen, with its gleaming stainless steel counters and shelves stocked with vibrant spices, was her sanctuary, but the weight of Vanessa's sabotage hung heavy. Misplaced ingredients, tampered recipe notes, and whispers of doubt from colleagues had turned her dream job into a battlefield. Still, Lee's resolve, rooted in her Mexican heritage and her parents' journey from Jalisco, kept her focused. She was here for Ellie, for the restaurant she'd built, and for the legacy of Tacos de la Sarah slipped into the kitchen, her curly hair tucked under a cap, her eyes sharp with urgency. Lee, we've got a problem, she whispered, glancing over her shoulder. I overheard Vanessa in the break room. She's spreading rumors that your taco kits are a ripoff of some chain's recipe. She's trying to tank your project before the prototype deadline. Lee's spatula paused mid-stir, her jaw tightening. She's got some nerve. My recipes are my mom's, straight from Mexico. Nobody's ripping off anything. She wiped her hands on her apron, her voice steady despite the anger bubbling inside. What's her deal, Sarah? Why is she so obsessed with me? Sarah leaned against the counter, lowering her voice. It's not just you. Vanessa's been angling for a VP spot, and your project's getting all the buzz. Plus, I think she's got a thing for Justin. Saw her batting her eyes at him in a meeting. She's threatened by you, amiga. Lee snorted, shaking her head. Justin, he's just my boss. Or whatever he is. She thought of his easy smile, the way he chopped onions in this very kitchen, but pushed it aside. I'm not here for drama. I just want my life back from Derek. As if on cue, Justin appeared at the kitchen door, his button-down sleeves rolled up, a clipboard in hand. "Speaking of drama, everything okay in here?" he asked, his green eyes scanning the room before settling on Lee. "Heard some chatter about your spices going missing again." Lee sighed, tossing a rag onto the counter. "Yeah, and I'm betting Vanessa's behind it. She's making this harder than it needs to be." Justin frowned, setting the clipboard down. "I'll look into it. Nobody messes with my team." He hesitated, then pulled something from his pocket, a small, woven bracelet, its threads faded but vibrant with red and green patterns. "Lee, can I ask you something? This might sound weird, but you ever lose a bracelet like this?" Lee froze, her eyes locking onto the bracelet. It was hers, a gift from her mother, given to her before the taste of Chicago 7 years ago. She'd lost it that night, during a whirlwind encounter with a stranger under the festival lights. "Where'd you get that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Justin's gaze softened, searching her face. 7 years ago, at the Taste of Chicago. I met someone briefly. She left this behind. I've kept it all this time, don't know why. But when I saw you at the festival, your tacos, your vibe, it felt familiar." Lee's heart raced, memories flooding back. The Taste of Chicago. The summer heat. A charming guy with green eyes who'd shared her tacos under a starry sky. They talked for hours, laughed, danced to a mariachi band. But he'd vanished after his phone broke and she'd never caught his name. "Justin, that was you?" she stammered, her hands trembling. "I thought I'd never see you again." Sarah's eyes widened, her coffee mug pausing mid-sip. "Wait, what? You two have history?" "Spill, Lee?" Lee shook her head, her mind reeling. It was one night. "We met at my food truck, shared some tacos, talked about everything. Then he was gone. I didn't even know his last name." She looked at Justin, her voice tightening. "Why didn't you say anything sooner?" Justin ran a hand through his hair, his expression conflicted. "I wasn't sure it was you until I saw the bracelet. And I didn't want to scare you off. You're already dealing with enough." He paused, his eyes intense. "But there's more. Ellie, she's 6, right? That timing, I can't shake the feeling she might be." Lee's breath caught, her hand instinctively touching the new bracelet she wore, a replica she'd made after losing the original. "Don't go there, Justin. Not yet. I need to process this." Her mind spun with the possibility, but fear held her back. Ellie was her world, and opening that door could change everything. Sarah jumped in, her voice urgent. "Okay, this is wild, but we've got bigger problems." Vanessa's meeting with the execs right now, pitching her juice blends as the priority project. "She's saying your taco kits are a risky bet, Lee?" Lee's fist clenched, her resolve snapping back. "She's not taking this from me too. I've got a week to nail this prototype. Let's get to work." She turned to the counter, grabbing a jar of dried chilies, but her hands shook as Justin's words echoed. Could Ellie be his daughter? Later that evening, Lee and Ellie visited. Henry at his Lincoln Park brownstone, a ritual that had become a comfort. The house was warm, filled with the scent of old cookbooks and fresh herbs from a small garden Henry tended despite his dementia. He sat at the kitchen table, flipping through a photo album, his silver hair catching the lamplight. "Lee, my girl," Henry said, his voice warm but fragile. "You brought tacos again?" He smiled as Ellie set a container of carne asada tacos on the table, her drawing of a smiling chili pepper taped to the lid. Ellie said, climbing onto a chair, "Mama says they're extra yummy today." Henry took a bite, his eyes closing in delight. "Just like Clara's, you've got magic in your hands, Lee." He tapped the album, showing a faded photo of a young woman in a chef's hat, her smile radiant. "My Clara, she'd have loved you. Fought for what she believed in, just like you." Lee's throat tightened, her fingers brushing Ellie's curls. "I'm trying, Henry. It's hard with people like Vanessa making trouble at work." Henry's eyes sharpened, a rare moment of clarity. "Don't let Anne push you down." Clara faced the same suits who thought she didn't belong. "You show him, Lee. Your food's your power." Lee nodded, her resolve strengthening. "I will, Henry, for Ellie, for my family." She helped him tweak a salsa recipe, his chef's wisdom guiding her despite his foggy moments. As Ellie drew pictures nearby, Lee felt a spark of hope, but Justin's bracelet weighed on her mind. Back at Hayes Foods the next day, Vanessa's sabotage escalated. Lee found her prototype samples swapped with a bland mix, her presentation slides altered to show incorrect data. She confronted Vanessa in the hallway, her voice low but fierce. "I know it's you, Vanessa. Messing with my stuff, spreading lies, back off." Vanessa smirked, her heels clicking as she leaned closer. "Oh, Lee, you're out of your depth. This company's mine. Your little tacos won't change that." She sauntered off, leaving Lee fuming. Got Sarah caught up, her eyes blazing. "She's planning something big, Lee. I heard her talking to her team about exposing you before the prototype deadline. We need to be ready." Lee nodded, her heart pounding. "Then we work harder. My recipes, my heritage, they're not hers to take." But as she returned to the test kitchen, the bracelet in her pocket felt heavier, Justin's words echoing. The past was catching up, and with it, secrets that could change everything. The Chicago River sparkled under the late autumn sun, its waters reflecting the steel and glass of the loop's towering skyline. Inside the Hayes Foods headquarters, the test kitchen had transformed into a battleground for the company's annual culinary competition, a high-stakes event to showcase new product lines. The space buzzed with energy cameras rolling for a live internal stream, executives in sharp suits mingling with chefs in crisp aprons, and the air thick with the scents of roasted spices and simmering sauces. Banners emblazoned with the Hayes Foods logo hung above, and a long table displayed vibrant ingredients: organic tomatoes, fresh cilantro, and chilies that carried the heat of Lee's Mexican heritage. Lee stood at her station, her tacos to la, familia apron tied tightly, her dark hair swept back, and her hands steady despite the storm of nerves within. Her taco kits al pastor, carne asada, and a veggie option were her chance to prove herself, not just to Hayes Foods but to herself. After Derek's betrayal and Vanessa's relentless sabotage, Sarah hovered nearby, her curly hair bouncing. As she adjusted Lee's display of spice packets, "You've got this, amiga," Sarah whispered, her eyes darting to the crowd. "Your tacos are gonna blow them away?" Vanessa's juice blends don't stand a chance. Lee managed a tight smile, her fingers brushing the woven bracelet on her wrist, a replica of the one she'd lost 7 years ago at the Taste of Chicago. Justin's revelation about that night had shaken her, the possibility that Ellie was his daughter lingering like a half-remembered dream. "Thanks, Sarah," Lee said, her voice low. But Vanessa's not playing fair. "I checked my samples. This morning, someone swapped my chilies for milder ones again." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "That's her, all right. I'll keep watch. You focus on cooking?" She squeezed Lee's shoulder and moved to the sidelines, scanning the room for trouble. Across the kitchen, Vanessa stood at her station, her red dress swapped for a tailored blazer, her blonde hair gleaming under the lights. Her juice blends, kale cucumber, and beet ginger were packaged in sleek bottles, their labels polished and corporate. She flashed a confident smile at the executives, but her eyes locked onto Lee with a predator's glint. "Nice setup, Lee," Vanessa called, her voice sugary but sharp. "Hope you're ready to lose." Lee didn't take the bait, focusing on her grill as it sizzled with marinated pork. "My food speaks for itself, Vanessa. Good luck with your juices." Her tone was calm, but her heart raced. She'd poured everything into this, her mother's recipes, her heritage. Her hope for Ellie's future. Justin entered the kitchen, his button down crisp but his sleeves rolled up, blending. And as a project manager rather than the CEO, he caught Lee's eye, offering a reassuring nod. "Looking good, Lee," he said, stopping by her station. "Smells like the taste of Chicago in here." His voice held a warmth that made her pause, and then he leaned closer, lowering his tone. "I found something in my old festival stuff. Last night, a napkin with your taco recipe scribbled on it. From 7 years ago? It's your al pastor, isn't it?" Lee's breath caught, her spatula freezing mid-flip. The memory hit hard, That night at the Taste of Chicago, sharing tacos, with a green-eyed stranger, laughing under the festival lights, scribbling her recipe on a napkin as a playful promise to meet again. "You kept it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. All this time? Justin nodded, his eyes intense. "Yeah, and I've been thinking about Ellie. The timing, the bracelet, it adds up. I think she's mine, Lee." Lee's hands trembled, the weight of his words crashing over her. "Justin, I can't. Not now. I need to focus." She turned back to the grill, her mind spinning. Ellie, her 6-year-old anchor, might tie her to this man in a way she hadn't imagined. But the competition loomed in Vanessa's schemes. We're closing in. The judges, senior executives, and a guest chef from a renowned Chicago restaurant began their rounds. Lee presented her taco kits, her voice steady as she explained the organic ingredients and authentic flavors. "These recipes come from my family from Mexico to Chicago," she said, passing out samples of warm tacos. "They're about home, community, love. That's what tacos de la familia means." The guest chef, a grizzled man named Chef Morales, took a bite, his eyes lighting up. "This all pasta, it's got soul. Reminds me of my abuela's kitchen in Guadalajara." The executives nodded, murmuring approval, and Lee's heart lifted. Vanessa, watching from her station, bristled. As her turn came, she presented her juice blends with a polished pitch, but the judges' reactions were lukewarm. "Healthy, sure," one exec said, "but it's missing heart." Vanessa's smile tightened, her eyes darting to Lee.S. The competition heated up. Henry Hayes shuffled into the room, escorted by a caregiver. His silver hair was neat, but his eyes were foggy, clutching a faded cookbook that had been Clara's. Justin rushed to his side, guiding him to a chair. "Grandpa, Henry, you made it," Justin said, his voice soft. "Lee's cooking today. You'll love it." Henry's face brightened as Lee approached, offering him a taco. "For you, Henry," she said, kneeling beside him. "Al pastor, just like we worked on." Henry took a bite, his hand shaking but his smile wide. "Clara?" He murmured, his eyes distant. "No, Lee, it's you. This is Clara's fire." He patted her hand, his voice firm. "Don't let anyone take this from you, girl. You're a chef." Lee's throat tightened, her resolve hardening. "I won't, Henry. I promise." She glanced at Justin, who watched her with a mix of pride and something deeper. Unspoken as the judges deliberated, Vanessa pulled Lee aside in a quiet corner of the kitchen, her voice low and venomous. "You think you're winning them over with your sob story?" Vanessa hissed. "I know about you and Justin some fling years ago, right? I'll make sure everyone knows you're just a gold digger." Lee's eyes flashed, her voice steady. "You don't know me, Vanessa. My food, my work, that's what's real. Back off." She turned away, but Vanessa's words lingered, a threat that felt all too real. Sarah, who'd overheard, grabbed Lee's arm. "She's desperate," Sarah whispered. "I found out she's been tampering with your samples all week. I've got proof photos of her switching your chilies. We can use it if she tries anything else." Lee nodded, her jaw set. "Good, let's finish this." She returned to her station, plating her final samples with precision, each taco a testament to her heritage and her fight. The judges tasted again, their nods growing more enthusiastic. But Vanessa's glare burned from across the room. As the competition wound down, Justin pulled Lee aside, his voice urgent. "Lee, I need to tell you something. I'm not just a project manager. I'm the CEO of Hayes Foods. I didn't say anything because I didn't want you to think I was pushing you into this." Lee's eyes widened, her heart sinking. "CEO? Justin, why didn't you tell me?" Her voice trembled, the sting of Derek's lies echoing. "I trusted you." "I know, and I'm sorry," Justin said, his eyes pleading. "I wanted you to trust me for me, not my title. But I believe in you, Lee, and I think Ellie's ours. We need to talk after this." Before Lee could respond, the judges called for final remarks. Lee stepped forward, her voice clear. "My tacos are for families like mine, people who carry." their roots with them. I'm here to share that no matter what. The room erupted in applause, but Vanessa's scowl promised trouble still to come. The Maxwell Street Market buzzed with the vibrant pulse of Chicago's South Side, its open-air stalls stretching along the historic street under a crisp autumn sky. The air was thick with the aromas of grilled elotes, fresh churros, and Lee's signature tacos, their smoky al pastor scent drawing a crowd to her Tacos to a Familia food truck. Brightly colored papal picado banners fluttered above, a nod to her Mexican heritage, while vendors hawked handmade jewelry and vintage records. Nearby, Lee, her dark hair tied back under a red bandana, worked the grill with fierce focus, her apron dusted with chili powder. The culinary competition at Hayes Foods had boosted her confidence. But Vanessa's threats and Justin's revelation that he was the CEO and possibly Ellie's father had left her reeling. Today, she was serving tacos at the market to promote her organic taco kits. A critical step before the final board approval at Hayes Foods. Ellie danced around the truck, her brown curls bouncing as she handed out flyers with her crayon-drawn tacos. "Get Mama's tacos," she called, her voice bright. "They're the best." Lee smiled, her heart swelling despite the weight of the past week. The market, with its mix of Mexican, Polish, and black vendors, felt like home a reminder of her parents' journey from Mexico and the community that embraced them. Sarah leaned against the truck, her Hayes Foods polo swapped for a casual hoodie, her eyes scanning the crowd. "Lee, this place is packed," she said, passing a stack of napkins. "Your tacos are killing it. The board's gonna eat this up, literally." She paused, her voice lowering. "But I've got a bad feeling. Vanessa's been too quiet since the competition." Lee flipped a batch of carne asada, her jaw tight. "She's planning something, Sarah. I can feel it. After that stunt with my samples, she's not done." She glanced at Ellie, who was giggling with the vendor's daughter, and her resolve hardened. "I'm not letting her ruin this for Ellie." As the crowd thickened, a commotion stirred near the market's entrance. Vanessa strutted through, her blonde hair gleaming, her tailored coat out of place among the market's casual vibe. She carried a tablet and a microphone, flanked by two colleagues from Hayes Foods' marketing team, their cameras ready. A small group of onlookers followed, drawn by her polished presence. Lee's stomach dropped. What's she doing here? Lee muttered, wiping her hands on her apron. Sarah's eyes narrowed. Trouble. Stay sharp. Vanessa stopped in front of Lee's truck, her smile sharp as a blade. "Ladies and gentlemen," she called, her voice amplified by the microphone, drawing eyes from every corner of the market. "I'm Vanessa Reed from Hayes Foods, here to address a serious issue. We've discovered that Lee Carter's so-called authentic taco kits are plagiarized from a local chain's recipes. Hayes Foods stands for integrity, and we won't tolerate fraud." The crowd gasped, murmurs rippling through the market. Vendors paused, their eyes darting to Lee, who stood frozen, her spatula trembling. Ellie looked up, confused. "Mama." "What's she saying?" she whispered, clutching Lee's leg. Lee knelt, forcing a calm smile. "It's okay, Mia. She's just being mean. Stay with Sarah." She handed Ellie off, then stepped forward, her voice steady despite the fury in her chest. "Vanessa, that's a lie, and you know it. These recipes are my family's, from my mom's kitchen in Mexico. You've got no proof." Vanessa smirked, holding up her tablet. "Oh, I've got proof. Emails, recipe comparisons. Your original all-pastor matches a chain's menu from 5 years ago. Care to explain?" "Lee?" She turned to the crowd, her voice dripping with mock concern. "Hayes Foods trusted her, but she's been deceiving us all." The crowd's murmurs grew louder, some shaking their heads, others whispering support for Lee. Mr. Garcia, a nearby elote vendor who'd known Lee's parents, called out, "That's nonsense. Lee's tacos are her own. I have eaten them since she was a kid." Sarah pushed forward, her phone in hand. "Vanessa, you're full of it," she snapped. "I've got photos of you tampering with Lee's samples at the office. Want me to show the crowd?" She held up her phone, displaying images of Vanessa swapping spice jars in the test kitchen. Vanessa's smile faltered, but she recovered quickly. Nice try, Sarah. Those could be doctored. But my evidence, ironclad. She gestured to her colleagues, who began passing out flyers with side-by-side recipe comparisons, designed to paint Lee as a fraud. Lee's heart pounded, her heritage under attack. Those are my mom's recipes, she said, her voice rising. I learned them. At her side in Pilsen. You can't fake that kind of love, Vanessa. You're just scared because my tacos are better than your juices. A few market-goers clapped, but Vanessa pressed on, her voice cutting. Keep dreaming, Lee. The board will see through you. Enjoy your little food truck while it lasts. Before Lee could respond, Justin appeared, weaving through the crowd. His flannel shirt rumpled from a morning spent with Henry. He'd been at the market to support Lee's promotion. But Vanessa's stunt stopped him cold. What's going on here? Justin demanded, his green eyes flashing as he stepped between Lee and Vanessa. Vanessa turned, her smile saccharine. Oh, Justin, perfect timing. I'm just Lee's fraud. Hayes Foods deserves better than a plagiarist. Justin crossed his arms, his voice calm but firm. That's a bold claim, Vanessa. Got any real evidence or just your word? He turned to the crowd, raising his voice. I've tasted Lee's tacos. They're the real deal straight from her family's heart. If anyone's playing games, it's not her. The crowd murmured in agreement, and Mr. Garcia shouted, That's right. Lee's one of us. Other vendors joined in, their voices a chorus of support, drowning out Vanessa's accusations. Lee felt a surge of gratitude, but her eyes locked on Justin. You don't have to fight my battles, she said quietly, her voice trembling. But, thank you. Justin met her gaze, his expression soft. You're worth it, Lee, and so's Ellie. He glanced at Ellie, who was holding Sarah's hand, her eyes wide but trusting Vanessa. Sensing the tide turning, snapped. This isn't over, Justin. The board will hear about this. She stormed off, her colleagues trailing, but the damage was done. Doubt lingered in some onlookers' eyes. Sarah pulled Lee aside, her voice urgent. We need to get those photos to the board before she spins this further. I've got a contact in HR who can back us up. Lee nodded, her resolve hardening. Do it. I'm not letting her take my name, my food, or my daughter's future. She glanced at Ellie, who was handing a taco to a young customer, her smile bright despite the chaos. Later that evening, Lee visited Henry at his Lincoln Park brownstone, needing his steadying presence. The house was warm, filled with the scent of old cookbooks and a simmering pot of his famous chili. Henry sat at the kitchen table, his silver hair catching the lamplight. A photo of Clara beside him. Lee, you look troubled, Henry said, his voice soft but clear. What's wrong, girl? Lee set a container of tacos on the table, her hands shaking. Someone's trying to ruin me, Henry, saying my recipes aren't mine. And Justin thinks Ellie might be his daughter. From a night years ago. Henry's eyes sharpened, a rare moment of clarity. Clara faced liars too. You fight with your food, your truth. And that boy Justin, he's got a good heart. Trust it. He took a bite of her taco, smiling. This is you, Lee. Nobody can take that. Lee's throat tightened, her fingers brushing Ellie's drawing on the table. I'm trying, Henry, for her. She glanced at Ellie, playing with a toy taco truck, and felt the fire of her heritage burn brighter. Vanessa's scandal wouldn't break her. She'd fight with her community and her truth behind her. The Chicago winter draped the city in a soft blanket of snow, transforming Pilsen's vibrant murals into a sparkling canvas of color against the gray sky. Inside Lee's small apartment above a taqueria, the air was warm with the scent of simmering mole and fresh tortillas, a testament to her Mexican heritage. The living room buzzed with the quiet chaos of family life recipe notebooks strewn across the coffee table, Ellie's crayon drawings taped to the fridge, and a small Christmas tree twinkling in the corner, adorned with papel picado ornaments. Lee stood at the stove, her dark hair loose for once, her hands steady as she stirred a pot of pozole, the rich broth a comfort after months of turmoil. The Maxwell Street Market scandal had shaken her, but the community's support in Sarah's. Evidence against Vanessa had turned the tide. Now, with the Hayes Foods Board's final decision on her taco kits looming, Lee felt a fragile hope, tempered by the weight of Justin's revelation about Ellie. Ellie sat at the kitchen table, her brown curls bouncing as she colored a picture of a taco truck under a starry sky. "Mama, is Grandpa Henry coming tonight?" she asked, her voice bright. "I drew him a taco with extra cheese." Lee smiled, her heart swelling. "He sure is, Mija, and Justin too. They're excited too. Try your special puzzle." She glanced at the woven bracelet on her wrist, a replica of the one from that night at the Taste of Chicago 7 years ago, when she and Justin had shared tacos and dreams. The confirmation that Ellie was his daughter, sparked by the bracelet. And recipe napkin still felt like a dream she wasn't ready to fully embrace. A knock at the door pulled her from her thoughts. Sarah burst in, her curly hair dusted with snow, her arms laden with a tray of pan dulce from a local bakery. "Amiga, it's freezing out there," Sarah exclaimed, setting the tray down. "But I've got good news. The board loved your taco. Kits at the competition. They're voting tomorrow, but it's looking like a green light." Vanessa's juice blends tanked too bland. Lee's eyes widened, a spark of relief flickering. "Really?" "Sarah, that's huge." She hesitated, then added, "But Vanessa's not done. She tried to ruin me at the market. What's stopping her now?" Sarah grinned, plopping onto the couch. "Oh, she's in hot water. I sent those photos of her tampering with your samples to HR. They're investigating. Her dad's influence might not save her this time." Before Lee could respond, another knock announced Justin and Henry. Justin stepped in, his flannel shirt peeking out under a wool coat, his green eyes warm but nervous. Henry followed, his silver hair neat, clutching a faded cookbook that had been his wife Clara's. "Lee, my girl," Henry said, his voice soft but clear in a rare moment of lucidity. "Smells like a feast in here. Clara would be proud." Ellie ran to him, thrusting her drawing forward. "Grandpa Henry, look. It's your taco." She hugged his legs, and Henry chuckled, patting her head. "For me? You're an artist. Little one," Henry said, his eyes misty. He glanced at Lee, his voice firm. "You're fighting, just like I told you. Don't stop now." Lee nodded, her throat tight. "I won't, Henry. Come, sit. Dinner's almost ready." She guided him to the table where Justin lingered, his gaze heavy with unspoken words. "Lee, can we talk?" Justin asked, his voice low as Sarah and Ellie set the table. He stepped into the small kitchen, the steam from the puzzle curling. "Around them?" "About Ellie. I know it's a lot, but I got a DNA test done discreetly, through a friend. It's confirmed. She's mine." Lee's breath caught, her spatula pausing. "Justin, I knew it was possible, but hearing it's real." She glanced at Ellie, giggling with Henry over her drawing, and her heart ached. "She's my everything. I can't lose her." "You won't?" Justin said, his voice fierce. "I'm not here to take her. I want to be part of her life, yours too, if you'll let me." He reached for her hand, his touch gentle. "I've been falling for you, Lee. Not just because of Ellie, but because of you. Your fire, your food, your heart." Lee pulled back, her eyes searching his. "You're the CEO, Justin. You lied about that. How do I trust you?" Her voice trembled, the sting of Derek's betrayal still fresh. Justin nodded, his expression pained. "I was wrong to hide it. I thought you'd push me away like you did with Derek's world. But I'm here, Lee, for you and Ellie. Let me prove it." Before she could respond, the door burst open, and Mrs. Lopez, the neighbor from the block party, rushed in, her face flushed. "Lee, you need to see this." She held up her phone, showing a local news article. "Vanessa Soto's posting lies about you online, saying you stole recipes. It's all over social media." Lee's stomach dropped. "Vanessa," she muttered, grabbing the phone. The article, posted on a Chicago food blog, accused her of plagiarizing recipes, With Vanessa quoted as a concerned employee at Hayes Foods. She's trying to ruin me again. Sarah snatched the phone, her eyes blazing. This is low. Even for her? We've got those photos of her tampering, Lee. We can fight this. Justin's jaw tightened. I'll handle it. Hayes Foods has lawyers. Vanessa's done. He turned to Lee, his voice steady. This ends now. Lee nodded, her resolve hardening. Let's do it. But tonight we eat. For Ellie. She served the pozole, the rich broth, filling the room with warmth, and the group gathered around. The table, a makeshift family. Henry took a spoonful, his eyes closing in delight. Clara's pozole wasn't this good, Lee. You're a chef, through and through. Ellie giggled, spooning her soup. Mama's the best. Grandpa Henry. Right, Justin? Justin smiled, his eyes on Lee. She sure is, Ellie. He reached for Lee's hand under the table, and this time, she didn't pull away. As they ate, Sarah laid out a plan. We'll send the photos and your bank records to the press tomorrow. Derek's name's on those transfers too. He's finished. Lee glanced at Ellie, her heart full. Thank you, Sarah. All of you. She looked at Justin, her voice soft. I'm still scared, but I want to try. For Ellie. Justin squeezed her hand, his smile radiant. That's all I need. Henry raised his glass of forcada, his voice strong. To family, to Clara, and to Lee's tacos. The room laughed, glasses clinking, the warmth of the moment sealing their bond. The next day, the board approved Lee's taco kits, her victory cemented by the community's support. And Vanessa's exposure. Derek's credibility crumbled as the truth about his theft surfaced, leaving him isolated. Lee, now a lead developer at Hayes Foods, launched Tacos de la Familia nationwide, her heritage shining in every package. In Pilsen, under the snowy murals, Lee, Justin, Ellie, and Henry celebrated. A family united by love, food, and second chances? We're dying to know what emoji captures this story for you. Drop it in the comments below, along with a score from 0 to 10 for this epic tale. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button, ring the bell for more heart-tugging stories, and share this with your crew who can't resist a good reunion. Let's spread the love like salsa on a taco.